The planet Valoria was quiet, but the silence was not peaceful. Storms roared across jagged landscapes and the skies glowed with strange shifting lights. The Tayari, a gentle alien race, had lived on Valoria for thousands of years. They were peaceful, intelligent and curious, building cities that shimmered with light and energy. But today all that beauty was in danger. Deep beneath Valoria's surface, a dark threat moved. The Tayari called it the Void Maw, a massive, energy-hungry creature that could swallow entire cities without warning. It came silently, leaving devastation in its path, and the Tayari had no way to fight it with their normal tools. Panic spread among their people. Families gathered in safe zones, and leaders tried to find a solution, but nothing worked. In the central city of Lithoris, the Tayari Council convened urgently. Their leader Elindra, a tall figure with shimmering blue skin, spoke with a trembling voice. Our world cannot survive alone. The Void Maw grows stronger every hour. We must call for help. Calling for help was not easy. Valoria had no faster-than-light technology to reach other worlds. But the Tayari had a secret, an ancient communication array hidden in the mountains capable of sending a signal across the galaxy. Elindra and her team worked for hours, encoding their message in a pattern of light and energy, hoping that some other civilization would notice. Meanwhile, far beyond Valoria, the humans of the exploration vessel Odyssey floated through the dark stretches of space. The ship's sensors flickered with incoming signals, and the crew was used to detecting strange signals from uninhabited systems. But this one was different. It carried something the humans could almost feel: fear, hope, and a silent cry for help. Lieutenant Mira Jensen, head of Odyssey's communications, stared at the console. Captain, this isn't a normal signal. It's someone asking for help, and I think it's urgent. Captain Ronan Vale, a calm but determined leader, leaned forward. Show me the source. The sensors traced the message to a distant, storm-covered planet. The visual showed a world of jagged mountains, glowing rivers of energy, and cities that flickered like distant stars. That planet, Ronan said, looks habitable, but it's clearly under threat. Mira nodded. The message itself carries an emotional imprint. Whoever sent it, they are terrified. The crew exchanged worried glances. Humanity had never encountered an intelligent alien race before. This was a historic moment, but it was also dangerous. We need to help, Ronan said firmly. Prepare the ship. We don't know what we will face, but we cannot ignore a call for help. Unseen by the Odyssey crew, another group of humans had also detected the Tayari signal. They were the Deathworlders. Humans trained to survive any environment, any threat. Unlike the Odyssey crew, they did not rely on diplomacy or slow calculations. They moved silently, striking only when necessary and surviving where no ordinary human could. The Deathworlders prepared their ships in hidden orbit near a dangerous star. They checked weapons, shields, and survival gear. Every member knew the risks. Valoria was no ordinary planet. It was a death world, a place designed by nature to kill the unprepared. Yet they did not hesitate. Back on Valoria, the Tayari signal continued to pulse through space. Elindra and her council watched nervously, unsure if anyone would come. We have little time, she said. The Void Maw approaches. If no one answers, our world may be lost. The storm clouds over Valoria deepened, and the first tremors of the Void Maw's arrival shook the mountains. Cities flickered as energy fields strained to protect the inhabitants. Children hid in shelters, and elders prayed silently for a miracle. On the Odyssey, the crew worked tirelessly to chart a safe course through Valoria's unpredictable environment. Sensors detected massive energy fluctuations, violent storms, and unstable gravity zones. It's going to be dangerous, Mira said, her voice tight with concern. Ronan clenched his fists. We've faced danger before, but nothing like this. We have to be careful, but we have to act fast. Someone's counting on us. Far above the storms, the Deathworlders silently observed. They did not broadcast their presence. They would arrive unseen, from the shadows, ready to face whatever the planet threw at them. Where ordinary humans struggled, they thrived. Where danger was certain, they felt at home. As the Odyssey and the Deathworlders began their approach, the first signs of the Void Maw became visible in Valoria's upper atmosphere. A dark, writhing mass of energy, hungry and relentless. The Tayari watched in terror as the shadow of the creature stretched across their cities. Elindra whispered almost to herself, Please, someone come for us. Somewhere in the vastness of space, humanity was listening, and soon their courage, their skill, and their determination would be tested like never before. The Odyssey moved steadily toward Valoria, cutting through the black emptiness of space. The crew could see the storm clouds swirling over the planet, like angry waves frozen in time. Every sensor was active, scanning for danger. But even with all their technology, the humans could not fully understand the threat that awaited them. Lieutenant Mira Jensen stood at the communications console, watching the signal from the Tayari pulse faster and brighter. Captain, the energy patterns are growing stronger. The planet's storms are affecting the signal. We need to reach them quickly. Captain Ronan Vale nodded. Keep monitoring it. We cannot lose contact, and we cannot underestimate what we might face. This is unlike any mission we've done before. Below them, Valoria's surface was a chaotic mix of energy rivers, jagged mountains, and cities struggling to maintain power. The Void Maw moved slowly across the planet, sensing life and draining energy. The Tayari had no weapons strong enough to fight it, only shields and emergency protocols. Their hope rested entirely on the humans. Far from the Odyssey, hidden in the shadow of a gas giant, another group approached silently, the Deathworlders. Unlike the Odyssey crew, they did not broadcast signals or communicate openly. They did not wait for orders or discussions. Trained for extreme survival, they thrived in places designed to kill. The leader of the Deathworlders, Cale Draven, observed Valoria through advanced sensors. His team moved with precise efficiency, using the shadows of space to remain invisible. This world is harsh, he said quietly, but it is survivable. The Tayari may not understand, but we can help them, if we act carefully. The Deathworlders began their descent in small, stealthy craft. They moved like predators through the storms, avoiding the worst turbulence and using Valoria's natural hazards to hide their approach. Lightning cracked across the skies and energy streams pulsed unpredictably, but the Deathworlders were trained for such danger. Where ordinary humans would panic, they advanced. On the Odyssey, the crew struggled with Valoria's unpredictable environment. Magnetic storms interfered with sensors, gravity anomalies pushed the ship off course, and massive energy discharges threatened to overload the shields. These storms are unlike anything we've seen, said Chief Engineer Ravi Chen. If we go in too fast, we could be destroyed. Ronan considered the options. We need to reach the Tayari cities, but we cannot risk the entire ship. Prepare smaller landers. We'll go in teams. The Tayari watched the skies with hope and fear. From their tallest towers, Elindra and her council could see lights approaching. 2 sets of lights. One bright and steady, signaling the Odyssey. Another almost invisible, moving silently like shadows brushing across the mountains. The Tayari could not understand the second group yet, but they felt the strength of their presence. As the Deathworlders landed on the planet, the storm seemed to test them. High winds, sudden lightning, and unstable ground forced them to adapt instantly. They moved carefully, using the terrain to their advantage, setting traps and securing safe zones for the Tayari. Every step they took was precise, calculated, and fearless. Cale Draven watched a massive lightning strike hit a nearby ridge. He smiled faintly. The planet itself can fight for us if we use it wisely. This is why humans survive where others cannot. Meanwhile, the Odyssey teams landed in safer zones closer to the cities. They carried shields and supplies ready to help the Tayari, but they were slower, cautious, and less familiar with such deadly environments. The Tayari noticed their presence and immediately ran to meet them, relief shining in their eyes. "Who are you?" one Tayari asked, eyes wide. "Can you save us?" Captain Ronan stepped forward. "We are humans. We want to help. But we need your guidance to survive your planet's storms." While the Odyssey crew began working with the Tayari, the Deathworlders moved silently through the dangerous zones surrounding the cities. They observed the Void Maw from the shadows, noting its movement speed and energy patterns. They did not attack immediately. They prepared. Cale Draven communicated with his team through subtle gestures and signals. "We will not fight blindly. The Tayari must survive, but we strike when the moment is right. Patience is as powerful as strength." The Void Maw grew closer to the cities, sensing the new arrivals. Its massive energy tendrils stretched across the stormy skies, hungry for life. Lightning reflected off its dark form, making it look larger, more terrifying to... Ronan Vale watched from a city tower as the Void Maw approached. We need a plan. The Odyssey crew cannot fight it alone, and the Tayari's defenses are not enough. Elindra looked toward the shadows where the Deathworlders moved unseen. A strange feeling of hope touched her heart. She did not understand these humans, but their presence felt like a promise. "Help is here," she whispered. The stage was set. Two groups of humans, one cautious and methodical, the other trained to survive impossible odds, prepared to face a threat that no alien civilization had ever seen before. The storm raged, the Void Maw advanced, and Valoria's fate hung in the balance. The humans were ready. But the planet was a test, and the shadows held the first secrets of the battle to come. The storms on Valoria raged without pause. The winds howled through the jagged mountains, and energy rivers crackled across the plains like giant veins of light. From the city of Lithoris, Elindra and her council watched the two groups of humans carefully. The first were the crew of the Odyssey, moving slowly but steadily through the chaos. The second were shadows among the mountains, the Deathworlders moving silently, almost like part of the storm itself. When the Odyssey teams finally reached the Tayari, fear and relief mixed on both sides. The aliens had never seen humans before. They were taller, stronger, and seemed almost unafraid of the dangerous environment. Children peeked from shelters, elders whispered prayers, and Elindra stepped forward, her hands trembling. Who are you?" she asked. "Can you stop the Void Maw?" Captain Ronan Vale lowered himself slightly to appear less intimidating. "We are humans," he said calmly. "We are here to help. But your world is dangerous, and the creature we face is unlike anything we have fought before. We need your guidance and your courage to survive." The Tayari looked at one another, unsure whether to trust these strange beings. But before they could answer, the storm shifted violently. Energy surges from the rivers struck the city walls, shaking buildings. In the distance, the Void Maw moved closer, its shadow stretching across the land. The Tayari gasped in fear, and even the humans felt the cold weight of its presence. Meanwhile, the Deathworlders had already begun their approach in the mountains. Kale Draven and his team watched from hidden cliffs. Unlike the Odyssey crew, they did not rely on technology alone. They used the planet itself to gain advantage. A lightning strike split a nearby ridge, and Kale nodded. "Perfect. The storm will hide our movements and confuse the creature. Stay sharp. Protect the Tayari." The first signs of the Void Maw's attack became visible. Its enormous form rose above the clouds, a dark mass with writhing tendrils of energy. It moved with purpose, searching for life to consume. The Tayari shields flickered under the storm, barely holding against the first strikes of the creature's tendrils. The humans acted quickly. The Odyssey crew set up portable energy barriers to protect the Tayari civilians, while medical teams evacuated families to safer areas. Children clung to human rescuers, unsure if these strangers were friends or another danger. Mira Jensen guided a group through a maze of collapsing streets, shouting over the roar of the wind. Meanwhile, the Deathworlders struck from the shadows. Small teams moved along the ridges, setting up traps and using Valoria's unstable energy streams to their advantage. Kale Draven used a combination of the planet's natural hazards and clever tools to slow the creature. Lightning strikes were redirected by their devices, creating temporary barriers that confused the Void Maw. The Tayari watched in awe. "These humans, they are not like us," one council member whispered. "They face the storm without fear." The Void Maw lashed out, sensing the interference. Its tendrils smashed through streets and barriers, reaching toward the humans. The Odyssey crew struggled to hold the line. Captain Ronan shouted orders. "Keep the civilians safe. Focus on defense, not attack. We cannot beat it head-on yet." The Deathworlders worked silently, taking advantage of the chaos. They funneled the creature into narrow valleys, where energy rivers and unstable cliffs created hazards it could not avoid. A massive strike from a lightning channel temporarily stunned the Void Maw, giving the Tayari and Odyssey crews a brief moment to breathe. Elindra, trembling but determined, stepped forward. "We can help guide you to the central energy sources," she said. "They are dangerous, but they can slow the creature if used correctly." Ronan nodded. "Good, we will follow your lead." But the Deathworlders must also act carefully. Their strength and skill are crucial. Kale Draven appeared briefly at the edge of the city, just enough for the Tayari to notice. "We are here to protect your people," he said in a calm, commanding tone. "Follow our guidance, survive. That is our first priority." The void maw roared, a sound that shook the mountains and rattled every bone. Its tendrils lashed in every direction, seeking the humans and the Tayari alike. The Odyssey crew fired energy pulses to distract it, while the Deathworlders continued to manipulate the environment to their advantage. Every moment was a fight for survival, but the humans adapted faster than anyone could have imagined. By nightfall, the first battle had ended, temporarily. The Tayari had survived the initial assault thanks to the humans' intervention. Alindra looked at the strangers before her and felt hope rising in her heart. Perhaps we are not alone in the universe, she whispered. Captain Ronan allowed himself a brief moment of relief. We have bought time, he said. But the creature is not defeated. We must plan our next move carefully. Kyle Draven disappeared back into the shadows, watching the creature, preparing for the next strike. The Deathworlders were patient. They waited for the right moment to act decisively, moving like ghosts across a world designed to kill. On Valoria, a new alliance was forming. Humans and Tayari, together against impossible odds, would face the Void Maw again, and when the next battle came, the courage, skill, and ingenuity of humanity would be tested like never before. The night on Valoria was dark, but the storms never stopped. Lightning flashed across the mountains and energy rivers glowed like molten veins. The Void Maw had retreated slightly after the first encounter, but it was far from defeated. Its massive form hovered above the cities, ready to strike again. The Tayari, exhausted and frightened, could barely keep their shields active. Captain Ronan Vale gathered the Odyssey crew in a safe zone near the central city. We have survived the first attack, he said, but the creature will return. We need a plan that uses every advantage, your planet's energy, our technology, and the Deathworlders' skills. Elindra stepped forward, pointing to the central energy nodes of the city. These sources feed our shields. If we can direct their energy strategically, we may slow the creature. But it is dangerous. Any mistake could destroy us all. Ronan nodded. We'll do it carefully. But we need volunteers to take key positions near the energy nodes. It will be risky, and some of us may not come back. Meanwhile, Kale Draven and the Deathworlders moved silently through the mountains. They had scouted the area thoroughly, mapping natural hazards, energy flows, and escape routes. The planet itself can be our weapon, Kale said quietly to his team. We will use every river, ridge, and storm to weaken the Void Maw, but some of us may need to make sacrifices. That is the way of survival on a death world. The first human teams approached the energy nodes. Sparks flew as they connected Odyssey technology with Tayari systems. The storm above intensified and the Void Maw stirred, sensing the humans' activity. Its tendrils reached toward the nodes, smashing nearby streets. Ravi Chen, the Odyssey engineer, shouted over the roar of the wind. We have to stabilize the energy. If it fluctuates too much, the nodes will explode. Mira Jensen ran beside him, adjusting the control panels. Keep going. We are almost there. Above them, the Deathworlders set traps in the valleys and along the cliffs. Lightning rods were positioned to redirect energy strikes. Unstable cliffs were rigged to collapse when the creature's tendrils hit them. Every hazard that Valoria naturally offered was turned into a weapon. Kale Draven himself led a small team into the most dangerous area, a narrow canyon filled with violent energy streams. They set a trap that would channel the Void Maw's energy into a temporary containment field. We cannot survive this area long, Kale said. Once we trigger the trap, we move fast. Timing is everything. The Void Maw sensed the humans' preparation and attacked with renewed fury. Its tendrils smashed the streets and crushed buildings. The Odyssey crew fired energy pulses to distract it, buying precious seconds for the Tayari and the Deathworlders. Suddenly, one of the Deathworlders, Lyra Voss, saw that a falling energy beam was about to strike a group of Tayari civilians. Without hesitation, she leaped forward, using her body and shield to block the energy. Sparks flew and she was knocked to the ground, injured but alive. Her sacrifice allowed the civilians to escape. Kale nodded at her from the shadows. Well done. Humanity survives through courage and action. In the city, the Odyssey crew completed their connection to the energy nodes. Elindra coordinated with them, directing the power to flow toward the Void Maw's path. The creature's tendrils recoiled slightly as the energy streams formed a controlled trap. Ronan spoke into the comms. Everyone hold your positions. Once the Void Maw reaches the trap, we trigger the containment field. The void maw moved slowly, sensing danger but unable to avoid it. It lashed wildly, destroying smaller buildings, but the humans and Tayari stayed calm, trusting their plan. Finally, it reached the canyon where the Deathworlders waited. Kale gave the signal. Energy from the nodes, lightning from the storm, and the Deathworlders' traps combined in a brilliant display. The void maw shrieked in frustration, as the energy streams trapped it temporarily, preventing it from moving freely. It thrashed, but the humans' strategy held. The cost was high. Several Deathworlders were injured, and some Odyssey equipment was destroyed. But the Tayari survived, and the city's major energy sources remained intact. Elindra looked at the humans in awe. "Your courage. It is beyond anything we imagined." Kyle Draven, catching his breath, replied simply, "This is what humans do. We survive, we protect, and we adapt. Sometimes that means making hard choices. But we never give up." The void maw, though trapped, was not defeated. It roared into the night, shaking the mountains, warning the humans that the battle was not over. But the humans had shown the Tayari something new. Even against impossible odds, courage, intelligence, and determination could turn the tide. Ronan Vale surveyed the battlefield. "We bought time," he said. "Now we must prepare for the final strike. The creature will not give up, and neither will we." Above the chaos, the storm began to calm slightly. For a moment, Valoria seemed almost peaceful. But everyone knew this was only a pause. The final confrontation was coming, and when it arrived, the humans' ingenuity, bravery, and willingness to face death would be the deciding factor. The Tayari, exhausted but hopeful, looked at their new allies. "Perhaps the universe is kinder than we thought," Elindra whispered. And in the shadows, the Deathworlders readied themselves. They had survived a death world, faced a monster, and proven why humanity could thrive where others might fail. The next battle would test them all, but they were ready. The storm on Valoria had calmed slightly, but the danger was far from over. The void maw, though temporarily trapped by the humans' clever use of energy nodes and the planet's hazards, still struggled violently, its massive tendrils thrashing against the containment field. Every pulse of energy sent tremors through the mountains and cities. Captain Ronan Vale gathered his teams for the final plan. "We cannot destroy it with weapons alone," he said. "But we can use the planet and our technology together. We will lure it into a natural magnetic storm and trap it permanently. This is our chance to save Valoria and its people." Elindra stepped forward, her eyes shining with determination. "The central energy nodes are ready," she said. "If you guide the void maw into the storm, we can amplify the field to hold it." Kale Draven of the Deathworlders nodded. "We will lead it from the shadows. Some of us may need to hold its attention. We know the risks. That is what survival demands." The humans and Tayari prepared. Odyssey crews checked shields, energy pulses, and evacuation routes. Deathworlders positioned traps along the ridges and valleys, ready to redirect lightning strikes and collapsing cliffs. Every detail was planned, every move calculated. The void maw roared, sensing the humans' final preparations. It lashed out, smashing the outer defenses of Litherus, but the Tayari shields and Odyssey barriers held. Civilians were guided to safe zones as children clung to human rescuers. The Tayari began to understand something extraordinary. These humans were not just warriors, they were protectors. Ronan and Kale led their teams toward the final trap. The magnetic storm hung above the mountains like a swirling, glowing eye. Its energy could hold the void maw in place if the humans could draw it inside. The creature advanced, sensing the human strategy. It lashed wildly, destroying smaller hills and tearing energy rivers from the ground. Kyle whispered to his team, "Steady. Lead it carefully. It is not enough to fight, it must be outsmarted." The Deathworlders moved like shadows, dodging tendrils and creating hazards to redirect the void maw. Lightning struck the ridges they had prepared, causing energy surges that confused the creature's senses. Lyra Voss, still recovering from her earlier injuries, led a small team to lure it toward the canyon. She shouted to the Odyssey team, "Now! Push it toward the storm." With a coordinated effort, the humans guided the void maw. The Odyssey energy pulses created temporary barriers, forcing it toward the magnetic storm. Elindra and the Tayari directed energy from the central nodes, amplifying the field above the storm. The creature struggled, thrashing violently, but it was drawn steadily toward the trap. Kale Draven moved to a precarious cliff, using his tools to redirect a final lightning strike that sealed the containment field. Sparks flew, Rocks tumbled and energy streams surged around the void maw, holding it in place. The creature shrieked in frustration, unable to break free, its massive form trembling against the storm's energy. The humans and Tayari held their positions, exhausted but determined. Finally, the void maw's struggles weakened. It was contained. The magnetic storm stabilized and the energy nodes maintained the hold. Silence fell over the mountains and cities as the threat was neutralized. Elindra stepped forward, tears in her eyes. You saved us, all of you. She turned to the humans. I do not know how to thank you. Your courage, your skill, it is beyond our understanding. Captain Ronan shook his head humbly. We did what we had to do. You would have done the same for others. That is what humanity is. Kyle Draven and the Deathworlders emerged from the shadows, their presence now visible to the Tayari. We do not seek recognition, Kale said. We survive, we protect, and we adapt. That is enough. But remember this. The universe is full of dangers, and humans will rise to face them. The Tayari were in awe. They had seen humans confront a creature they could not have imagined and survive in a world that was deadly to all others. Children laughed for the first time in days. Elders prayed with gratitude, and the city of Lithoris slowly began to rebuild. The Odyssey crew and the Deathworlders shared a brief, quiet moment. They had faced impossible odds, lost some equipment, and endured storms and chaos, but they had won. Humanity had once again proven its ability to survive, adapt, and protect those who could not protect themselves. Elindra approached Ronan and Kale. Perhaps we are not alone in the universe. Your presence shows us that even the impossible can be faced with courage and wisdom. Kyle smiled faintly. That is the truth. Humans thrive where others might fail, and when we appear from the shadows, it is not just survival. It is hope. Captain Ronan looked out at the horizon, the storm clouds slowly fading. This is only the beginning, he said. The universe is vast and there will be more threats. But Valoria stands today because humans acted, and because courage does not know limits. The Tayari and humans began working together, sharing knowledge, repairing the cities, and learning from one another. The bond formed in the fires of danger became an alliance, one built on respect, trust, and the recognition that humanity could survive, adapt, and protect in ways the galaxy had never seen before. And as the stars shone above Valoria, the Deathworlders disappeared back into the shadows, leaving legends in their wake. The Tayari would remember the humans who came from across the stars to save them. They would tell stories of courage, ingenuity, and sacrifice, of beings who appeared when no one else could, and who proved that humanity could thrive even in the harshest corners of the universe.